Okay, so this video is in a bit of a different format to what I'd normally do, so apologies if there are any technical issues or if the audio doesn't sound very good. I'm still working on this format and I'll improve stuff in the future, but this is the first instance of this type of video. Basically, I'm just going to do a tier list of all of the new Who series, that being series 1 to Flux. This isn't going to be like a tier list of all the episodes at the moment, it's just going to be each series, but I might eventually do every episode of a certain series or every episode just in general. We'll see how this goes. Now, this tier list doesn't include a separate entry for the 2009 specials or the Day of the Doctor, for example, is its own special, stuff like that. Okay, so obviously starting with series 1, this was obviously a great reintroduction to the show. Russell T Davies perfectly brought this back in my opinion. The introduction to the Doctor and pretty much everything through Rose's eyes was just a great way of doing it. There's not really any episodes in series 1 that I don't like. There's obviously some that aren't quite as good as others. Pretty standout series, really. Christopher Eccleston's great in it, Billie Piper is good in this one, and the finale for me is one of the best finales, maybe even the best finale in Doctor Who. So the only negative thing about this series is kind of the dated visual effects and also how campy some of it is. It's the first series, it was in 2005, the budget wasn't, you know, huge, and like I say, it was 2005. At the moment, I'm going to put series 1 in A tier. These can always change throughout the video, I haven't pre-planned where I'm putting all these yet, so this might change. Now, moving on to series 2, this was a bit of a step down for me. Obviously, I love David Tennant in this. There's definitely more episodes that I'm not a big fan of in this, and just a lot more meh episodes as well. But it's not like necessarily a bad episode. We've obviously got Girl in the Fireplace, you know, Stephen Moffat. This is when he was at his peak writing for Russell T Davies. I really like the Cybermen two-parter. The Ood two-parter is really good, and this might get me quite a bit of flack. I personally quite like Love and Monsters. There's obviously a couple moments in that episode that are a bit questionable, but for the most part, I think it's a great concept, and I actually quite like the way it was executed personally. It's definitely better than Fear Her, which some people I've heard describe Fear Her as so bad it's good, but I don't think I describe it as that way. I think it is just really boring and bad, to be honest. But the finale, although for me personally, I think I prefer Bad Wolf Parting of Ways, the finale for this is great. I'd say another thing that really lets this series down for me is how Rose is characterized in this. In series 1, I really like her, as I've said, but in series 2, she gets really annoying, and the whole arc just seems to be the fact that she's in love with the Doctor. So I think for me personally, I'm going to put series 2, I think I am going to put it in C tier for now. Like I say, these could change. Okay, moving on to series 3. I think overall this series definitely has a lot more good episodes than series 2, but it's a bit of an interesting one for me. The first half of this series, I think, for the most part, is fine, and maybe just has some meh and not so great episodes. I mean, the one that immediately sticks out to me is the Dalek two-parter. I don't think that's very good in this, and then the Lazarus Experiment is not good. But the thing about this series is when you get to Human Nature, which, by the way, Human Nature Family of Blood, probably my favourite couple of episodes in the whole show, but as soon as you get to Human Nature, it's non-stop great episodes. Probably the best run of episodes in New Who. Obviously, fan favourite, and I believe the most highly rated episode of Doctor Who, Blink, is in this series, which is a great episode. I don't know about other people, but I tend to count Utopia as part of this finale. The way the Master's introduced in Utopia and just the way that he's portrayed by John Sim is really good. The only thing that lets it down is the very ending, like the solution to the story is a little bit ridiculous, but everything around it and even after it, when like the Master dies and stuff like that, is really good. I think for now I'm going to put it on the same level as series 1. Moving on to series 4, I think it probably is my favourite series. Donna is probably my favourite companion. There's some absolutely standout episodes in this series. Fires of Pompeii, once again Stephen Moffat coming in with Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead, one of the best two parts in the whole show. Midnight is one of my favourite episodes, along with Turn Left. Got to be in my top 5 episodes. And once again, the finale in this is absolutely brilliant. It's almost like the end game or like Infinity War of the Doctor Who universe. The Next Doctor is fine. Planet of the Dead is probably my least favourite of these specials. Obviously, Wars of Mars, brilliant. Anyone will tell you it's brilliant. For me, it's one of the best episodes in the show. The End of Time, part 1 and part 2, it might be nostalgia speaking, but I quite like these. I know a lot of people have problems with it, but personally, I haven't really watched them that much recently. Although, with that being said, I don't know if I could say it's my favourite finale of the RTD era or of Doctor Who in general. I still think I probably prefer Dolan Earth and Journey's End. Series 4 is going into S tier. I think Series 5 overall is a pretty good introduction to first a new era and also Matt Smith's Doctor, the 11th Doctor. It is let down by a couple of episodes, especially considering the next 2 episodes of The Beast Below and Victory of the Daleks, which for me are probably, well, some of the weakest episodes. there is also Hungry Earth Cold Blood. I think it's not a great one, and Vampires of Venice isn't that great either. Time of Angels Flesh and Stone, I mean, it's not as good as Link, but I quite like it as an Angel 2-parter. Amy's Choice for me, I want to say it's an underrated episode, but I don't know if it is actually. It is one of the best ones. And here we are once again with one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who, Vincent and the Doctor. And personally, I quite like the finale in this one as well. I know a lot of stuff, especially in the second part, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Personally, I do quite like it a lot. It is one of my favourite finales. Because of some of the episodes, it does kind of let it down a little bit, so I am going to put it below Series 1 and 3, but I do think it's better than Series 2 personally, so I'm going to put that in B tier. Probably my favourite part of Series 6 is the first 2 episodes. A bit of an interesting way to open as well with a 2-parter. It's normally obviously the finale that's a 2-parter. Curse of the Black Spot, one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who in my opinion. The Doctor's Wife I think is a great episode. I personally quite like A Good Man Goes to War. I don't know if that's a hot take. Let's Kill Hitler, I personally quite like it. Like, it's not great, but I think it's a bit of fun. The God Complex is, I just keep coming back to it, and it's probably one of the episodes I've rewatched the most out of all of Doctor Who for some reason. I genuinely don't know why. The finale for me, this is probably my least favourite finale, at least of the Matt Smith and RTD era, maybe even the Moffat era as a whole, I don't really know. The very ending and the way it's all wrapped up does not work for me at all. Probably I'm going to put it on C tier with Series 2. Moving on to Series 7, for me, up until this point, is probably my least favourite. There's a couple of decent episodes in here I personally quite like, and have come back to Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS quite a lot. Both of these episodes, I honestly don't remember anything that happens in them. Nightmare in Silver, this is the worst of the 2 Neil Gaiman episodes. Day of the Doctor and Time of the Doctor I'm also going to include in this series. Name of the Doctor, probably my least favourite out of those, and it can get a little bit boring at times. Bing bong. Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary special, which is the 50th anniversary. They've put a lot of effort into it. They've turned it into basically a movie. It really does feel like a celebration, and I have watched it quite a lot of times. And also with that, we've got Time of the Doctor, the Christmas special, and Matt Smith's final episode in this series, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's a lot better than a lot of the other episodes in Series 7, and a pretty decent send-off for Matt Smith, to be honest. And another thing I have to say about this series is it's obviously the introduction to Clara, who for a lot of people don't like her, and for me personally, I actually really like Clara, and I know for certain with this one that is a hot take. So with all that being said, as I did say, it is my least favourite series so far, because of Day of the Doctor and that trilogy of episodes towards the end of it. It kind of brings it up to a C for me. You know what, I think I am going to move it down to a D, but bear in mind, like I said, the Day of the Doctor does really help it out. Moving on to Series 8, it might actually be worse than Series 7. The standouts for me are Listen, Mummy on the Orient Express I remember being fairly decent. I quite like Flatline from what I remember, that was a pretty good one. In the Forest of the Night, that is definitely the worst episode of this series. This finale, I think, is not that great, but the fact that it's the introduction of Missy and Michelle Gomez is absolutely incredible in it, that does really help. So for now, it's going to be D tier, and I'm reconsidering if I do need to move Series 7 back up to C tier actually. Moving on to Series 9, I think this is a really underrated series. When people talk about the Capaldi era, they usually talk about Series 10 and how good Series 10 is, but for me personally, I prefer Series 9. I think Series 9 is Capaldi's best series. I really like the format of pretty much every episode being a 2-parter. Personally, I think this 2-part introduction is, I don't want to use the word good, I think I'm going to use the word fun and entertaining, but I personally quite like it. This kind of a shoulder 2-parter kind of lets it down for me. Likewise, I don't remember a whole lot about this 2-parter either, so I think I just found it quite boring. The Zygon 2-parter for me I think is great, and I love the way that the setup of it is kind of linked into the Day of the Doctor. There's like a 10 minutes or something speech from the Doctor in the Zygon inversion that's just absolutely incredible. Obviously Heaven Sent, this is some people's favourite episode, and I'd have to agree. I don't think I like it as much as everyone else seems to like it, but I do think it is a really great episode. This is definitely a bit of a hot take. I don't mind Hellbent. I think Hellbent isn't that bad. Obviously it's not better than Heaven Sent, I'm not at all saying that. It should have ended with the Doctor kind of coming to terms with the fact that he has to let Clara die, and he has to take her back to that point in time where she dies. But with all that being said, I also like the framing of the episode, the storytelling device of she doesn't know who the Doctor is when actually the Doctor has forgotten who she is. Although the way I was describing it might not have made it seem this way, I am tempted to put it in S tier. Maybe I should put it in A tier, but I feel like it's wrong just to have one series in S tier, and I think with what's coming up that seems the way it's going if I don't put that in there now. So personally, I am going to put Series 9 in S tier, which might be a little bit shocking to some people. Now, like I said earlier, a lot of people really like Series 10. For me personally, I don't think it's as good as Series 9. Not a great introduction, to be honest. And then there's some really meh episodes throughout, and some not so great ones here as well. Where this one really gets pulled back up is the finale. It really nails the body horror of the Cybermen. I love having this old Cyberman design. I do personally think that Dr. Fall should have been Capaldi's last episode. It is a very great finale, to be honest, so it does pull it back up in that respect, but the rest of the series for me just is a bit meh, to be honest. Yeah, I think it might have to go in C tier for me. Moving on to series 11, the start of the Chibnall era. Woman Who Fell to Earth is a pretty good introduction. Yeah, this series in particular is not very good. Demons of the Punjab I remember being pretty decent. Series 11 at the moment is going to be the first one in E tier. Moving on to series 12, let's see if this one was better or not. Spyfall part 1 and 2 is a pretty decent introduction, in my opinion. It's not the best. Orphan 55, worst episode of the series. Stand out for me here is Nicholas Hessler's Night of Terror. That is probably my favourite episode of this series. Maybe Haunting of Villa Diodati as well. That is a pretty good episode as well. But this finale, I mean, it's not good. The Timeless Children, I mean, it sets up all the stuff that I'm not a big fan of in this era. I'm going to put that in D tier for now. Finally, moving on to Flux. I have a whole video on this, which I will probably link at the end of this video. I had a lot better time with Flux than I did with series 11 and 12, until we reached the end where everything didn't really wrap up very well. I'm not going to be covering these specials in this video because, I mean, only one of them is out so far. I'm probably just going to have to put it in D tier as well. But yeah, for me, this does look a bit odd because I feel like these two should be higher than these, but I haven't got an F tier. So let me know if you agree or disagree with this, and like I said, if you want to know my thoughts on Flux, I have a video about that which I am going to link here if you want to watch it.